Want to speak real Japanese from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at JapanesePod101.com.
秘密は
みんなこんにちは、ケイジュンです。
How did I learn Japanese? Before coming to Japan, I was studying Japanese for about 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah. While I was studying at university, I joined a language school and I was going there maybe like twice a week.
Okay.
Yeah, that was for 4 years. And then I went to Japan as exchange student. Okay. And I studied there like for 1 year and a half.
どうぞ。
I'm Japanese. My parents are Japanese. When I was really little, I studied a little bit of Japanese in Japanese school. But then as I got older, I didn't study Japanese at all, and then I basically lost all my Japanese. And then I had to move to Japan, and that's when I had to kind of learn Japanese again. But in the beginning, I didn't really learn, and I just kind of had to get into it without really learning. And then later on, I went to Japanese school, kind of, and learned for 2 years. But that was like a few years after living in Japan.
I went to a language school and I had two professors, one Japanese professor and Tunisian professor. And I went to Japanese university and I was taking Japanese class in the Japanese university.
I studied maybe 9 months or so before coming to Japan on my own, just looking at stuff on the net and listening to some lessons. The first sentence I learned was 私はアメリカ人です. It's not even true. And I was watching a lot of anime and listening to Japanese. And
Everything by yourself?
Yeah.
Oh.
So when I came to Japan, I knew like the few basic phrases, and then I was studying at a college for 2 years, just Japanese. Like 4 hours a day. I think that helped me get a good base.
I learned Japanese at school when I was in high school, but I studied for exam only, so I didn't speak Japanese at all. I knew some Japanese words, but I don't know how to speak. I started speaking Japanese when I came to Japan. I was exposed to like Japanese TV shows or Japanese people around me, so that's how I learned Japanese. And also I have some advantages because I'm Korean and the Korean language is pretty similar to Japanese language in terms of the vocabulary and grammar. Yeah, I spent more than 10 years for learning English, but I couldn't speak. But after learning Japanese for a few months in Japan, I could speak Japanese. I had some advantages.
Learning Japanese is easy.
If you learn Korean, it's easy. And if you know Japanese, that means you can learn Korean language easily too.
Next question.
I like Japanese comedy, so when I watch some variety shows or something, they speak like they would a normal conversation. So listening a lot to that, and then if I found a word or a sentence that I hear a lot, I try to memorize that and look it up, and then I can learn it because I will hear it again. I remember in the beginning it was like "nani" or something like that. You know?
Good question. How about you?
Okay, I'm answering first. I just basically became comfortable with speaking Japanese from having to speak Japanese at school, and all the people, or most of the students were all Japanese. There were no ways to speak to people unless I spoke to them in Japanese because they couldn't really speak English, and I wanted to make friends. I think that was my biggest motivation. I wanted to make friends, so I just had to speak Japanese, and my Japanese was really bad, but I still tried to speak Japanese with any kind of Japanese I knew.
Same.
That's how I became comfortable with it slowly and slowly and slowly. And like people couldn't really understand me in the beginning, but they would be really nice. So they would try to understand me even though my Japanese was really bad.
Repeating and repeating and repeating sometimes the same question and answer helped me a lot. And people like looked at me and said, "Wow, so good."
I mean, you don't learn Japanese by hanging out with people from your own country. So if you want to get used to it, you gotta speak to native speakers. If you can speak a little bit Japanese, they will praise you. They will like, yeah, your Japanese is so good. So you feel like, okay, I can say more and more. It's okay to make mistakes, and you can learn from that.
Being here, you get like surrounded by like the language, because you go to the street and you say, see a kanji here, kanji over there. You have to go to the supermarket, you use the language, and like anything. I even like change my phone to Japanese, like you go buy mangas in Japanese and try to read them. Lots of them have furigana, and that's super good.
I try to use lots of Japanese words even when I speak English. Have you noticed?
Like Japanglish.
Yeah, this is so cold. でしょ? This is めっちゃ cold.
There's a lot of Japanese words that you can't translate in English.
めんどくさい.
Oh yeah, めんどくさい.
めんどくさい.
めんどくさい. Or like お疲れ様です.
お疲れ様です.
Like there's no really direct translation. So it's even if you're in like a English speaking atmosphere, you just want to say like お疲れ.
Yeah, if they are in Japan.
Yeah, because that's just you can't get it across in the other language.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You feel more motivated here in Japan, like studying here or in Tunisia?
Actually, I feel much more motivated to speak Japanese in Japan because I feel really the need to communicate in the konbini or in the supermarket when go shopping. So I was furnishing much more effort to learn and to study at least 30 minutes a day.
日本語で話しましょう。
どうやって日本人と友達になれるか。
私の場合は、日本に来たばっかりの時に、日本語を少ししか話せないけど、音楽が好きから、ライブハウスに行って、自分が好きな音楽のアーティストを見に行ったら、そのアーティストが、外国人がいるって思って、そう声かけられて、で、そっからその人と友達になった。
あら。完璧すぎるんじゃない？
音楽で友達ができた。で、一緒に演奏して、
いい
その
な。
後ご飯に行ったりして。12年前の話。
でも今
も友達だし、今、音楽一緒に作ってる。そう。ギタリスト。そう、趣味が合うといいよね。
うん。
日本に来てどのくらいですか？
今、6年ぐらい。
日本は好きですか？
好き、もちろん好き。食べ物好き。
食べ物好き。
はい、
何が一番好きですか？
全部の食べ物大好き。でも日本の食べ物
納豆も好き？
納豆。
全部じゃない。
全部じゃない。納豆、そうそう。
納豆、そうそう。
ベタベタ、ベタベタ。
ちょっとベタベタしてるから。
刺身大好き。
刺身、何でも大丈夫、刺身。
何でも大丈夫。私の国は、海とても近く。
あ、そうだよね、海の近く。
そして、日本みたい。
日本みたい？どういうところが例えば？食べ物が魚介類、シーフードとか。
土曜日にハイキング行きましたね。
はい。
行ったね。楽しかったね。高尾山を登った。ケイジンと私と友達と。
599メートルで。
よく覚えてるね。
で、東京から1時間ぐらい。
新宿から
1時間、
高尾山はまだ東京の中に。
あ、そっか。
まだ東京でしょ？そう。
チェックして。
多分ギリギリ東京。
ギリギリ東京か。
何が一番いい思い出になったその日？
メグちゃんを押すこと？
誰も意味わかんない。私はそんなに山登り得意じゃなくて、ケイジンがいっぱい押してくれました。で、それがケイジンの一番いい思い出らしいです。
なんか
よくわからないけど。
いい人になった気持ちだったから。私いい人。頑張れ。来年の目標は富士山に登ることです。頑張ります。
Yeah, like, because at the beginning for me, because I was studying in Spain, when I came here, it was like, oh, I don't really know anything. Everything was like, I cannot speak anything. And it took maybe me like half a year to become very comfortable to start speaking. So once you realize like, nobody's gonna laugh at you. So you can just try and everybody is going to be like super happy and appreciate that you're trying to speak the language. And sometimes they can help you, that you will learn a lot from the other people.
Going out and speak with the new people is one of the most important tips to learn actually a language. Just leave your book.
And talk.
Talk
to people.
And what about you?
For me to speak English, I think even though you can't speak English or Japanese perfectly, just try to speak.
Yeah.
Like as you said, like just to try,
Just
no hesitation.
Yeah.
Because if you hesitate, you would never get improved.
Yeah.
You know, people would understand you don't speak Japanese or English fluently because you're not native speaker and you're still learning. So you just need to try, I think.
Yeah. And I think one other tips is also when you are speaking a language, just try to think in that language.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Yes,
because
yes.
for example, I speak Arabic, I speak French, I speak English, I speak Japanese. But is when I speak that language, I stop to think in the other language. Because if you think all the time, like for example, you think in Arabic and try to translate what you are thinking in Arabic in Japanese, that won't work.
Yeah. For me, I sometimes stuck because in my head I'm thinking in Japanese and I try to translate to English and there's no exactly like the direct translation for that word and I get stuck.
Yeah. So
No,
that's not
point.
Yeah. So always I think try to think in that language.
For me, you need to get exposed to Japanese environment more. For example, you watch Japanese speaking Japanese videos or like anime or Japanese drama, movie, and you can read manga. That helped me a lot. I see how they communicate each other and then I pick up some words and I try to use it to other people, and when it works, it makes me so happy. Yeah, I think that's some good way to learn Japanese, and it's also fun way to learn Japanese. And also there are lots of fun videos on JapanesePod101.com that helped me a lot. For example, I went hiking last Saturday and then it was rainy, so I made the teru teru bozu.
True story.
It's basically a Japanese lucky doll that stops raining. So I made it, but it still rained. But luckily, it wasn't
It's still
heavy
rain.
rain. Heavy rain.
Still rained.
It still rained.
It didn't really work.
At least it wasn't heavy rain. There is Teru Teru Bozu song too.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I did know that. I made that video. My biggest tip for speaking Japanese would just be surround yourself with Japanese people and force yourself to speak Japanese even if you are not comfortable yet. I think there won't be like a perfect time, so you just have to like throw yourself into it, and once you start speaking, you'll slowly get better and better, and surround yourself with people that can speak Japanese and speak to them as much as you can, and that will really help you speak Japanese no matter what level you are at.
When I speak Japanese with other Japanese people, they don't actually correct me every time I make a mistake. But teachers always correct me, and also they give me some better expressions, better phrases, or even give me some useful phrases that is related to that topic. So that actually helped me improve my Japanese more. So I still learn Japanese twice a week.
With Motoko sensei.
And Yamabuchi sensei.
Oh, you learn with them too?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know these
We
things.
have lots of teachers at JapanesePod101.com.
Don't be afraid.
Number one thing, don't be afraid.
日本語は楽しいです。
Do you use JapanesePod101.com?
Oh yeah, of course. It's the best site.
We use it.
Yeah, well, I do use it. Yes, and it's a very nice, especially the
What's the best time to
Podcast.
use it?
best time. of the day? The best time of the day to use it is when you're on your 1 hour commute to work.
That's the answer I was hoping.
Yes.
Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to
JapanesePod101.com. Bye.
Thanks.
バイバイ。
お疲れ様です、ヤッファさん。
ありがとうございます。
Bye! さよなら。
じゃあ、最後からね。
最後から
最初。
最後から何するの？
私、かわいい。
誰も見えない。
これで十分なの？
多分エリックも
もっと話したいですけど。
もっと話したい。じゃあ何話したい？
No, no,
And just suddenly you realize like you're in front of the camera and you get shy.
Yeah,
That happens.
yeah.